Mercedes began the 2019 F1 season in dominant form, but it has played second fiddle to a resurgent Ferrari since the summer break. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff knew the team had to hit back, and although it has now sewn up the Constructors' title, there is still work to do. Mercedes haven't brought any meaningful updates to its car in recent rounds, and despite having a quick car on Sundays, it has struggled in qualifying compared to Ferrari. For the Japanese Grand Prix, the team brought a new set of barge boards along with a few minor detail pieces on the front wing. At the front, a new deflector was built into the end plate to help turn airflow downwards, bringing it to the second deflector on the footplate to push it around the front tyre. The turning vanes on the barge board, meanwhile, have now transitioned into 3 distinct phases. The front vertical piece remains, but the central horizontal elements have increased from 4 to 6 and no longer extend below the side pod mounted element as the previous specification did. While the side pod mounted vane was formerly made of one piece, it has now been broken into 2 parts, presumably with the intention to generate tip vortices that wash over the side pods. At the beginning of the year, the launch car featured 3 vertical vanes, but the switch to a greater focus on the horizontal elements over the season suggests a vastly modified approach to conditioning the tyre wake. Mercedes' most recent large upgrade came in Germany, and although it improved the car in race trim, it also made it more difficult to wrestle a quick lap out of in qualifying as the peak window for aerodynamics seems to be smaller. The W10 manages its tyres better than the Ferrari SF90, but it struggles to switch them on ahead of a hot lap. Suzuka showed an improvement here, but the car still needs to prove its worth in qualifying as Ferrari managed to lock out the front row again. Mercedes is one of the teams to make the biggest strides with its turning vanes, while Ferrari has largely stuck with the same design throughout the season. These turning vanes interact with the turbulence from the front wheel, conditioning the air and directing it around the side pods. Most teams use predominantly vertical turning vane elements, including McLaren, Renault and Red Bull. These usually consist of 3 to 4 elements. McLaren, for example, has 3, while Renault has 4. McLaren's also connects to the boomerang winglet, as does Red Bull's design. But teams have started to employ horizontal mounted elements as well, much like Haas, Williams and Toro Rosso, which give a few extra options when managing airflow in this area. These link up with the air being pushed out by the barge boards and help to bring it around the side pods to the rear of the car. Turning vanes have increased in stature since the barge board area was opened up for development with the 2017 rule changes. They've even surpassed the complexity of designs from 2008, over a decade ago, before the aerodynamics were heavily restricted. Today, they're just as intricate as the rest of the car, and it's surprising to see such large changes made so late into a season. As the engineers at Brackley put in the hard graft, the package has worked for Mercedes. Valtteri Bottas produced a stellar drive to make the most of the new upgrades, delivering a win and crucially helping the team to its 6th Constructors' title in a row. This should be the cut-off point for Mercedes' larger upgrades this season, but don't be surprised to see some development parts for next year make cameo appearances in practice. The F1 rules are stable for 2020, so any improvements teams can make this season will still be of benefit for next year's cars.